Go. Squeeze. Go on the release. Good. Wait, I was struggling so bad.
I think we were actually spot on.
Yeah, we were in sync. So welcome back, everybody. I'm joined here with everybody's favorite couple, Jenna and Chris Fail. You may know Jenna from, well, actually, you can introduce yourself.
I'm so bad at introducing myself.
You want me to do it? I'll do it.
Yeah, I want to
All
hear
right.
what you got to say.
Okay, so Jenna is Chris's wife.
Thank you. That's it.
That's it, right? No, so
that's
Jenna
all that needs
is
to be said.
an elite athlete with Phorm. Some might use the term fitness influencer. I don't know how you feel about that.
We could talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I have my feelings about that term too. No, elite athlete with Phorm. Been with the company for quite a while. That's how we know one another. And then obviously Chris is her husband, and you guys have been together a very long time, which is why I wanted to talk to you about relationship stuff. So thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for having us.
We're
We're
glad to be
excited.
here, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add about yourself that I did not mention?
Cat mom. Very important.
Very
I know
important.
you left that one out.
I might have left that out on purpose. I'm a dog person.
Same.
Do you like cats, Chris?
I like our cats.
Okay.
I mean,
fair.
cats are a different animal. If anyone has cats,
They're
you know
kinda
what I'm
assholes.
talking about.
They are. Yeah.
They're individual.
Yeah.
They really are.
I like to feel needed. Like I like when. So both of my dogs passed away like within a month recently. They were super old. I mean, that's the worst part of it. But they need you. So it's, you come home and cats are just like, oh, you again. But dogs are like, hey, I love you.
Yeah, the man's best friend thing.
Yeah.
That
real.
is real.
It's
But
real.
whenever a cat chooses you, like at night, and it comes up, and you're like, oh my gosh, me?
Yeah, but the other
Maybe I just haven't
90% of the
experienced
day-
that because
You
I'm an asshole.
The rest of the day, the cats don't want anything to do with you.
So we just got a workout in here at the office gym. Shout out to the office for letting me put a studio in here,
Awesome
and
gym.
pretty nice gym. I think he's done a good job.
Very
And
nice.
We had I think Chris might come back up and we'll sling some iron around.
That's right. If I'm still breathing hard, that's going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I think the listeners probably know by now that I breathe hard for the beginning if I've done a workout. But no, we had a great time. Got some content. You guys, 2 hours away? So
Yeah, two
not
and a
too
half
bad.
hours. Yeah.
Not bad.
And then I think we might go get some beverages later after this. So it'll be a fun day.
Cheers.
Starting.
So wanted to bring you on, as I mentioned, to talk relationship stuff primarily. That's why I wanted both of you. And you guys have obviously been together for a long time, but also married for a long time. And we got a ton of questions from people, and so we'll get to that. But I guess in general, what would you have to say about why it's worked so well?
I would think,
Just
honestly,
to jump right in.
we just kind of we found a really good thing right away. Like, I feel like luck is kind of on our side with it, because I do feel like we just kind of fell into a really good thing.
Well, I mean, I would say in the very beginning, neither one of us had a clue what the hell we were doing. We didn't know what we wanted out of life, but we knew we were going to have each other. We were going to have to support each other no matter what that was. So who we are now is totally different people than we were then.
Yeah.
No, the
And
listeners might not
there's
know.
been-
We were very young.
Yeah.
Like-
we
like early
we were high
teens.
school sweethearts.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to say, is that you're different people now, because I think what happens with a lot of folks who get together so young, they become different people, but they grow apart.
Right.
So,
And there's even been transitions in between. So like who we were then, who
Oh
we
my
are
gosh.
now. Like
We've been like
there's-
5 different people at least.
And if anybody's followed
Yeah.
Jennifer a period of time, like the
Bless
hair's
you.
always been different. Like
I can't keep myself
Yeah.
together, y'all. It's always got to be something different. I wake up every day, I'm like, what am I going to do today? What
but
am I going to
but
look
I like
today?
that. I do like that. Like it's cool. Like early in the relationship, she was kind of getting started in her career, cosmetology. Things didn't exactly work out as she had planned there. But me as a husband, my goal the entire time was like, you do what makes you happy. I felt my job as the husband was to take care of the finances. I just wanted her to be happy. So like, if you like doing hair, by all means do hair. But if you wake up in the morning, you want to do something different, then chase your dream, whatever it is. And it still to this day, like that's still my intent is like, we share finances, but I've always taken it as my sole responsibility as the husband to be that, financial support
provider.
Right.
There's a lot of women who are listening right now that just looked over at their significant other like, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? But no, and I think that's important to mention, and especially these days when a lot of these sort of traditional roles are frowned upon and demonized and said like, that's a kind of a misogynistic viewpoint or whatever. It's like, no, it's not.
Right.
Like, it's perfectly fine to look at yourself that way.
Right.
And it's the traditional way of looking at your role in the relationship.
Well, we both grew up in households like that. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. His mom was a stay-at-home mom. And it's just, I think people base the way they feel about things off their experience. So if somebody had a totally different upbringing, like I would totally understand why you might not understand why that's what we choose to do.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it is a choice, but it's what we're familiar with and just kind of what makes us happy.
Yeah, and I guess kind of to add to that, like the way I didn't have a bad childhood, but I saw a lot of things growing up with my family that I did not want that to become my future. So I kind of made it a point that certain aspects of my childhood were not going to be part of our relationship, part of if we ever have kids, like things would be different.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make too, because I think you can go one of two ways, and that's to replicate how you grew up and replicate what your parents did for you, or to say, I don't want to
be different.
Right. I don't, and that was kind of for me because I didn't have like a nice traditional upbringing or whatever. So, but for me, it was like, okay, that I know that's not what I want. And so that really drove me into wanting to be a good man, a good father, et cetera. So through all these phases of being different people, what was it that helped you guys the most was it just always like, no matter who they become or what they want to do, I love them for who they are? Because I think a lot of folks go through this where the other one changes or vice versa. And it's like, you're not the person that I met,
I think a lot of it, and maybe control is not the best word to use, but I think a lot of it is, one side or the other expects a certain personality. And if, like you said, if the other couple changes, then they don't want to accept that. And we've kind of always had a pretty relaxed relationship as far as... Yeah,
I think we're pretty different than a lot of people as far as we just don't sweat the small stuff at all. And we love each other for who we are. And we support each other. So we've always supported each other through all the different phases and different things. We know who each other is at the core of who we are. So
yeah, and I think one probably huge misconception is that we don't argue.
Right.
I mean, that's just not true.
But it is rare. We really don't.
Yeah, it's rare that we argue, and it's always something stupid. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, it's when the arguments come up, it's one of us is just being an asshole, plain and simple.
Or hungry. Haven't ate yet.
And, we go through it, and then we work it out. We talk it out, and then it's like...
Or sometimes, like, we don't, because not everything... I mean, this is... Some people think it's terrible advice, but I don't think everything needs to be talked out. Sometimes we're just in a pissy mood.
Well, I think sometimes you just need to say, it is what it is, let it be.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah. That's a good point, too. I mean, you don't have to resolve everything. No. You can just say, look, we love each other. Fuck it. Let's leave it behind us.
Well, I think a big thing
have,
is...
like, different interests, but
like,
she respects the things I'm interested in, and I respect the things she's
We're
interested
two totally individual people in a sense of, like, he likes to do the things he likes to do, and he goes and does that. And then at the end of the day, it's us, and same thing with me. There's no... And I've talked to so many people about this, about marriage. I feel like people are like, it has to be 100% me.
Yeah.
You golf, I don't golf. That doesn't include me. I don't want you to do that. Like, I think you have to, if you love them, they have to grow as a person and enjoy the things they like to enjoy. And same for you. I don't think it's healthy to be 100% into each other in every single thing.
Yeah. And, there was a period of time in our relationship where I didn't do a good job of that. I just recently got into the bodybuilding thing. So I was so focused, so determined on being what my goal was that I kind of lost sight of giving all the attention that she deserved and needed. So that was probably a big lesson learned for me. And, Jenna's the type, she didn't say anything for a long time. So like, I'm really
pretty chill. I don't really care. Like it had to get really far before I'm like, wait, this isn't, I don't like this.
So in my mind, so
like you were spending too much time on it or just too focused on it?
I guess to say like now, like if I know like, say Jenna wants to go out to eat tonight, like I'll make it a point to either not go to the gym that day or go to the gym early, get my stuff.
Right.
Prioritize.
You're not going to say, no, I got to go to the gym tonight. We're not going out to eat.
Well, back then I would do that.
Right.
And I wouldn't even register in my head that like, dude, you're an asshole. Like your wife just wants to go out to eat tonight. Like wake up, go to the gym early.
He's full time management now. Like that. Yeah. That's the difference. Before it was like, well, I'm going to the gym. I'm like, well, then go to the gym. He's like, no, I got to eat, and then I got to wait 2 hours for it to digest.
I was the guy like I can't train till like I've had 3 meals.
Yeah.
Like it was I was so structured that
I've been there too.
And now it's like I feel and I look better than I did back then, and I'm way more relaxed. We go out to eat several times a week, and it's all just.
I mean, we just worked out and we're drinking PBRs.
Balance.
But yeah, I mean that was the lessons learned for me was the time management thing, prioritizing, and that's probably one of the biggest advices I'd give for relationships is like we all have our goals. Like I have mine, she has hers, but like you also need to be mindful of your spouses or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is.
Right.
Like you need to be mindful of their goals as well.
And encourage them.
And don't be selfish, them. Right. Don't be selfish and just worry.
Support the ones that don't include you because that's where they need the support because they're alone in it. So make it an extra effort to be there for them.
At that point in time, Jenna hadn't really got into the fitness thing at all at that point. So, here I am like Mr. Hardcore, like, and she's just like, what is all this stuff? Like, what is this 2-hour workout? Like it didn't register to her. Like,
since you were Mr. Hardcore first, how was it when she sort of skyrocketed to the position she's in now? So how was that for you?
It was actually cool. Like, I mean, and again, like this
because it wouldn't be for a lot of guys. They would be like,
well, we were training partners for a year.
A little while. Whenever I trained for figure, we were.
Yeah, like because I just got into competing, and she kind of got into it, and she did a couple bikini shows, did well, and then just with her structure, we're like, you would probably do really well figure. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you're obviously gonna have to eat more, train more intense. So she started training with me, and
you saw how he works out.
Oh yeah.
Well, and she actually did really well, and her strength just started going up, and eating more food. She started putting muscle on, and everything started developing. So yeah, that was cool. It was different, because I've pretty much, other than training with my brother, I've pretty much trained solo my whole time.
Yeah.
But to train with my wife, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, and she actually hung in there. Like, with, once she kind of got into her groove, it was pretty impressive. Some of the weight she was pushing.
Can't push it now, but
yeah, well, balance, right?
Right.
Yeah. So like, I never had like you were kind of pointing out, like, I think some guys probably would.
They'd be jealous.
Yeah.
Like,
but like,
I mean, because
me,
she achieved a very high level in the industry.
Well, all right. So we'll kind of talk through how that whole thing happened. So,
I think a lot of people are interested in hearing that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way First Phorm really came into our life was, I think it was probably Instagram or Facebook or something. I saw like, the athlete search. And so, again, me being so into all this, I was like, man, that'd be badass to get sponsored by a supplement company. And
back then that was the goal.
If you were a quote unquote bodybuilder, like you got to get sponsored,
I'm
right?
Sponsored, bro.
Right. Yeah. So I expressed interest into it. I put in, and then I was telling Jenna, I was like, hey, like we should do this. And,
I was so skeptical. I was just on that mindset of like, they're going to pick Miss Olympia. Like it's just a thing.
Right.
So it was your idea first.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. No,
that's cool.
I wasn't familiar with First Phorm, and days went by, and I told him like, I'm not doing it. Because I didn't know anything about them. And then sure enough, I get on the computer, the desktop, this was years ago. And it was still pulled up, and it was only like maybe 4 or 5 things to fill out. So I'm like,
so I had already
whatever.
applied, but I left the window open with intentions of when she got on the computer, she would see it. And
well, I did. And then literally within minutes, Phorm was like blowing up my Instagram, like liking all my stuff, commenting. I'm like, oh my gosh, they actually looked. I'm like, wait a minute. All right, this is already totally different than what I was expecting. And then I kind of dove into all of their stuff, the website, their content. And I'm like, wait a minute, like this is actually very different. You, especially from back then, the supplement companies were so different. And this really stood out to me. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I actually kind of want this now. Like I didn't know what this was prior. And then kind of the rest is history. But it's so interesting because we wouldn't be sitting here right now if Chris closed out of that tab.
Right.
I mean, literally, just the smallest little thing.
Isn't that wild?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Life would be totally different.
So what year was this? Was this
2013?
Yeah, this was like the very first search. Like the one, I think Amy won that one.
Okay.
Way back.
Yeah. Amy was. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what she's referring to, for those who might not know, is every year Phorm does an elite athlete search. And how many times did you do it before you won?
Oh my gosh. I think it was like...
She actually never won.
I never won. No, I never won.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I didn't know.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, I never won. I just like loved them. And I just like was always like making my presence known. Like, hey, I'm not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Like a bad rash. Like I'm here to stay. And
that's kind of how I am. They can't get rid of it.
Yeah, no. So it, came on that they brought me on as an elite athlete, and it's super cool. Like it's crazy.
Well, I think we got invited to like the first athlete weekend.
Yeah.
Which it's that in itself, man, is so crazy looking back, because I remember going to HQ, meeting Andy, meeting Sal, and I think they may have had like, I don't even know if they had 10 guys working at HQ back then.
That's crazy.
It was Will and Aaron's first day, and they didn't have beards. They were so small, like looking back. It's crazy.
So like we literally knew everyone like so personally, and then you look at like how much the company's grown, in the last 6-7 years. I mean, they have hundreds of people there now, and it's like wild. Every time we go, we're like
new faces.
We don't know you, but we know we love you. Like,
That's. I was gonna say, like even like on social media, every day I see a new person that I don't know who's an HQ employee, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll follow you and say hey. But it's wild how much it's grown.
Yeah.
It really is.
I've only been involved with the company for almost 4 years, so I can't imagine what it's been like for you guys.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So it was Chris's idea to do the search. Mm-hmm. Got you into it, and now here we are. You're the elite athlete, and
Sal always jokes. He says they picked the wrong fail because Chris is so cool. They're like, damn it, bring Chris. They're like, pick the wrong fail.
They got the package deal, though, so that's
they
cool.
did.
Yeah, no, they've literally, man, they've always treated me, just like family. I mean, I've always been included in everything, so I have nothing but good things to say about all those guys.
What is it like having a spouse that is that popular, has that much exposure, or you know what I mean? Because it seems like you're a laid back guy, and that's probably why it works so well. Because I know just personally, I know a lot of guys who would like drive themselves crazy if their wife or girlfriend had such a big following online, or like, what is that like? And how do you manage that?
I guess like for both of us, really, like we've never really put that much focus on that. Like,
that's awesome.
Like I understand like the work she put in to build the following organically that she has. So like that in itself, like I really respect, because I know like years, like it took a lot of time to build what she's built. So like I respect that. Like that to me is that shows the amount of effort, the amount of work she put in. She's always, even still to this day with the following she's built, she's up till 1, 2 in the morning responding to DMs. Like she really makes an effort to respond to everyone that reaches out to her.
As best I can. Yeah. As best I can. I do miss things.
And we've had,
it's so hard.
Yeah, we've had talks about that. Just like, at what point does this become too much for you to try to manage every single comment that comes through, every single DM? Right. Because a lot of people don't realize that when they send these comments or DMs that, she's getting thousands of these a day. Like
I was just telling,
at some point, it's physically impossible to get back to every single person.
Well, now Instagram
everybody thinks they're the only one.
Right.
Well, they have the like message button, and that counts as a message. So if I respond to like 20 messages and I'm still catching up on these other 40, and those 20 like the message I sent, now it floods. To the top. Yep. It's just poorly designed, but it's also not designed for what I use it for technically. So kind of a
So no, I mean, really, I think it's cool. Like I respect it, and I think
that's awesome.
I'm really proud of her. Like
I think that speaks to your level of maturity, right? Because I think that a lot less mature person there'd be jealousy there, not just like there's a lot of insecure guys.
Right.
It sounds like you're a very secure man. You're very, confident, and like that has been a big part of the reason why this has worked with how high level her exposure is and all that stuff. Because, dude, I know a lot of guys that would just they would not do well with that.
But I mainly get women in my messages.
That's hard to even imagine. Like, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. Like, that's just hard.
But we laugh at stuff too. Like if I get like some weirdo in my DMs, which honestly is rare, like I'll read it to him and then like we laugh and I don't respond, but it's just like this idiot. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, that's interesting that it's rare though, because
I don't get
it's kind of rare, but like they're always good. It's like
they're so stupid.
It's to the point where she's like, "Oh, you got to look at this."
I get some,
and then I'm like thinking, did he really think that was going to work? Like that was your that was your one shot to try.
Oh yeah, it's comical for sure.
Yeah. Well, no, that's awesome. And like I said, I think that a lot of guys or girls, whether it's the other way around, it's like they would struggle with that. Like someone who's such high profile in the fitness industry, and that's I would have thought you'd gotten a lot more creepy DMs.
No,
that's interesting.
Guys don't really.
I don't know why I get so many. That's
like
you're really cute.
Back when I competed and would post those kind of pictures, I would get some pretty interesting comments.
Can you send me your sweaty underwear?
Like that's the stuff. It's so odd.
It's so weird,
and it's got to be vacuum sealed. So all that odors,
they want that smell.
That's right.
Give me that good smell.
That's weird.
For the record, I've never sent them.
See, now I joke a lot about that because I have people, because I never know how to describe what I do for work, especially around people he works with. They're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like,
"How do you think I feel?"
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of do a lot of things, and so it always gets brought up that I sell feet pics on the internet, which is not true. It's a total joke. But I think some people really don't understand the level of how common and jokey that is in the internet world, and they're probably like, "She probably actually does." No, I've never done it.
There's actually people who do, and
I know
who pay good money for that.
Man, if y'all see me rolling up in a Bentley, just
know.
Mind your business.
My feet are hideous. I could never.
There's probably a site for that.
There's
extra ugly. For that. Probably more money.
True.
Me and you could probably make a page.
We probably could.
Only fans, only toes.
Yeah, it's just feet.
Yeah.
But you make a good point that I just wanted to highlight, because I see a lot of people today who complain about not being able to grow their following. And I think that what you pointed out is really important, that you take time to respond to everyone as best as you can, or you take time to comment back. Because I'll see people who are complaining about not growing, and they've got 1,000 followers, and their most recent post, they had 5 comments that they didn't reply to.
And it was a week old, and they haven't posted since then. It's consistent, for years and years and years. And with the algorithms, because I was in Instagram before algorithms. And so whenever that kind of hit, that was a totally different challenge. And so it's been really just a big learning curve as far as what to do. Do I post this time, that time? Continuously doing it, getting back to the comments, even if it's just an emoji, I comment back. I want them to know I saw it, or liking it. And
I guess another thing to keep in mind too is she never got into Instagram as a, just some app to go play around, like pictures, look at stuff. It was, when she got into it, it was literally to create a business.
Well, it was very quick. No, not initially. At the beginning, I just kind of was just getting into fitness. I got my Instagram, and then kind of at the time, fitness was blowing up on Instagram. So it was probably...
Yeah, but you were doing online kind of coaching and stuff at the time. So you were using that.
No, I did that after. You got timelines mixed up. Okay. Did Instagram for a little while, and then started posting my gym selfies, and they were kind of blowing up. And I'm like, there must be something to this. And then there was the big fitness girls were just kind of getting started. And it wasn't long, and then I was helping people that way, because prior to that, I was a personal trainer in real life.
Okay.
And then I just ended up transitioning on to online, because I realized I would charge $20 a session for a half-hour session. And then I realized, I can train way more people online in more time. I could utilize that 30 minutes totally different online. Yeah. So then I kind of moved everything over, and the rest is history.
So is the bulk of your following just female?
I'm right down the middle on the back end.
Okay.
But primarily women are the only ones that really talk to me.
Right. they're the ones who are following you for the valuable content.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So you guys, and I asked you this earlier while we were working out, like, do you guys train together? And you said not really.
Not anymore.
So I think that that's an important thing that you pointed out too, is like you do live your own lives and you do your own things and you don't have to always constantly be together. And I think that's an important thing to point out, because a lot of like newer, younger couples, like I have friends, I'm 33, I have friends my age who are still single or who go through relationship after relationship. Yep. And I always know, I try to be observant, and it seems like the ones that really don't make it are the ones where it's like they got to always be together doing something together, like constantly.
Usually that's just complete insecurity, though.
Yeah.
Like
I think so too.
Yeah. If confident people don't act that way.
Right. It's like what you said. It's like we do our thing and then we have our time.
Right.
Yeah. And I think if anything, we actually kind of encourage, like,
he tells me all the time, why don't you go do this
get out
today?
Of the house.
Yeah, why don't you go do something? Go to the beach for the day.
Yeah, go do something, whether it's, you just go have a day to yourself or like get a girlfriend, like go do something for the day. Like we actually encourage each other to like.
We both had separate weekends. This past weekend, he had a guy's trip and I had that trip with Marissa. And we spoke like 5 text messages, like hardly ever. Like we just.
It was like,
hey, I think that's great.
No big deal.
I'm here. Like, hey, I'm on the way home.
I was like, that's what I told him. Just let me know when you get back to the house safe. And I text him every night I'm home. Good night.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I can't think of the last time we.
If you looked at our text history, you can say like we don't text each other a lot. Not like other couples do.
But I'm saying that was probably the longest
Just
we haven't communicated in a while.
Yeah, and it wasn't a big deal.
But like you said, it was. We let each other know we got to where we were going safely, and then at the end of the day, let each other know like, hey, we're back.
Like we'll catch up on our stories when we get home. So we had like a date night that night, kind of.
I think that's perfect though.
But
right?
It wasn't like hey, what are you doing?
Right.
Like,
never. If he texted me, I'd be like, who are you? Like you've never ever asked.
But again, I think that comes back to what Jenna said: security. Like it comes from a place of insecurity when people are like that, right? Like you guys both trust each other, and
we've gone through phases of that. I was prior to getting into fitness, gaining insecurity because he was into fitness and. I mean, the fitness girls are like beautiful. Like, oh my gosh. So like we'd go to these shows and I'm like, wow, look at that girl. And it just kind of clicked one day. Like, well, I could be that girl if I wanted to be. And then I just did it.
So is that why you got into it?
I got into it for multiple reasons. I could probably name off 10 reasons, but also because like he said, like he was kind of being distant in our marriage and I wanted him to think I was interesting. So maybe I'm not interesting. Like maybe I should get interested in what he's interested in. So I started in the gym and I really did enjoy it. So I was like, okay, wait a minute. I got to see what you're doing here. I like it. And just kind of snowballed from there for me.
Well, I mean, it definitely worked out. I think you found what you're supposed to be doing.
Nice little pun there. Yeah, right.
For sure. And so, and Chris, you have like a full-time job, right? And so what do you do?
So I'm a shift manager at a nuclear cleanup facility. So what we do is it's basically environmental cleanup for the Department of Energy. This is part of when we were making nuclear weapons. A lot of waste was generated, stored in underground tanks. So we're processing that, trying to get that to a safe condition where it's no longer, hazardous to the environment.
Gotcha. Did you have to, like all through COVID and stuff, you still went to work?
Yeah. I mean, so I'm a shift worker. I work a rotate swing shift, days, nights, weekends, holidays.
That has to be tough for gym
life. And again, that kind of goes back to, I mean, I've worked shift the last 11 years. So trying to balance the swing shift rotation, going to the gym, doing my thing, like I was saying earlier, my priorities were all screwed up, several years ago. Trying to balance all that it is tough. And I was doing a bad job of it, but I've kind of since learned as I've matured, gotten a little older, that I can do all that stuff. And, I don't have to go to the gym 6 days a week, 4 days, 5 days is just as good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I needed the rest. So
I tried to tell him for years.
I started to look way better when I started going to the gym, like 4 days versus 7 or 6.
There's so much inflammation and you're never recovering. It's just exhausting.
I mean, when I go to the gym, I like to train hard and I want to leave feeling like, I left it all, I emptied the tank. So,
and it's tough, man, when you truly enjoy training.
Right.
It's tough to say, all right, I'm only going to do 4 days a week.
Right. It is. Because for me, like the gym's always been that outlet. Like That's my time.
Definitely.
Literally shut the world off and just go to work,
And so it sounds like especially with your work schedule and how things are with your job, it was like, it wouldn't have worked with any other type of person, because you have to be okay with, he's gone all different times.
Well, if I would have kept going the path I was going, I was creating distance between us. And again, didn't even realize it because Jenna being, Jenna.
I like being alone. I really very much enjoy being by myself. So I think probably anybody else, it may have been an issue a whole lot sooner.
Oh, for sure.
But I very much enjoy being by myself. So I think that also contributes to why it's just works out really well for us. And I think you too, like we both enjoy our time, and I'm comfortable that way.
Yeah. I think that's healthy to have like your own time,
Oh, absolutely.
But again, it goes back to the prioritizing things, like, do your stuff, but make time for the other person as well.
And during that time, be present.
Exactly.
Them. Like you're in that
And
time.
we are. And I feel like way back in the day, I was, especially with Snapchat, I was like always doing the Snapchat thing, and I would snap everything. And now like I feel like I don't story quite as much, but it's because we are like together. Like I don't want to be on my phone, which is perfectly fine. And I know people support that and honestly prefer that. But some people are like, are you okay? I haven't seen you in a couple days. I'm like,
but I also understand, like, and maybe a lot of people don't realize this, but everyone's kind of quick to say like, oh, I wish I could do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they realize what she does is literally 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There is
hours.
No, we went to Mexico for our honeymoon. Like I understood she had to have a portion of that day every day to also work.
And you know what it was? So many messages during that trip were like, don't answer messages, enjoy the trip. And I just have like 100 of those. I'm like, I got to clear these out.
Right.
So it's
you don't
so
have
funny.
to reply to this, but I just wanted you to know.
Yeah.
But I understand, like, she still has to work. Like, that's what she does. And so she does a good job prioritizing that. She knocked her stuff out, in the morning.
But though, it is work, but I enjoy it. Like those are like my friends. And honestly, like I even have friends now, like Whitney and a few other girls that are like my very close friends that I met online and met like through First Phorm. And it's like, you talk so much, they do become your friends. And so I look at it like I not as work, like, oh, I have to work today, I have to do stories. Like I want to share my life. I want to share the different things that we're doing because people do enjoy it. And it's kind of very much a balancing act between.
It's definitely it's just different, right?
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
I'll talk to buddies and they're like, oh yeah, it's the weekend. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is, but I'm doing a podcast and I'm doing this and it's like, and then the same thing with content. If you're a content creator, like you're just, you're always working,
right?
Quote unquote, but you also enjoy what you do. So it doesn't feel like,
I don't feel like I work all the time,
right?
But I'm busy what's the word? Like I don't work hard. I'm just busy.
Right. And I think one way to put it is you're always living with purpose because you're always documenting this or doing that or going to the next thing. And
it's so different. Like I don't know why people always ask me, I don't know why anybody follows me. Like it's so different. Like they don't know what they're going to get that day. And so, but I do like that. Cause like if I'm like really into like baking one day, then I'll just do a whole baking thing. And I'm like super excited to like answer all this baking stuff. And then the next day I'm like, oh, I'm going to go shop and redo a piece of furniture. Oh, I'm super excited about this. Cause it's not the same thing. I think whenever I was so into fitness, it was exhausting because everything was fitness 24/7. So I felt like in my regular life, it was fitness, I'm burnt out. And then I get on my phone, it's fitness, I'm burnt out. So now it's just everything.
Well, I think that's another reason that you have organically grown the way you have is, there's a little something for everybody,
right?
With her content, not just, okay, another gym selfie,
Personally, I don't, as much as I'm into fitness and that whole world, like I don't enjoy accounts that are just like every single post is, here's my back workout, here's my chest workout, here's what
it's always the same. Like I've had so many people in my inbox and they're like, I bought this leg day workout from this girl and I think she ripped me off and they send me the workout and I'm like, it's a leg workout. What are you talking about? Right. And they're like, well, the other one I bought had squats and leg press and leg curls. I'm like, what do you think? There's only so many ways you can work your legs out. Like it's just, it's so repetitive.
Yeah.
That's one of the things with social media is like people have built those shady businesses of
no, it's not shady. It's just maybe some of them, but it's just like I think people are expecting this.
Like
this is
the
so
cookie
different.
Cutter, like buy this plan for $100 and I'm selling everyone the same thing. Like, there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
but also on the other end of the spectrum, like what Jenna was saying, people they expect like this. What works, right?
Exactly.
Like
and it's often simple.
It's simple, and it comes down to whether you do it consistently, day after day after day. And it's like, I promise you, this is what you need to be doing. I know it's not exciting, and I know maybe you expected something mind blowing, but this is what I do, and you said you want to look like me, so here you go.
Do this on a daily basis and
for years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really.
And but I think there's something to that, especially in the coaching world. People they're like, well, I paid you, and what did you want me to do? Like, give you this groundbreaking.
There's no secrets in working out.
There's no secrets, man. No. It's truly, just a few things that if you check the boxes every single day, you're going to get there.
Yep.
It's pretty boring, actually, which is why I hate following accounts that are just like fucking.
Like press today. Yeah, all right.
Yep. I mean, there's some powerlifting accounts which are fun because you can watch them progress and get stronger. But like in general, like if you're not showing the rest of your life, then, and I think that's with my stuff, I started being a little more outspoken on, political stuff and all that. And that's when people started to be more interested.
Yep.
Right.
Like, oh, it's just not some other meathead, which there's a million of.
I feel like I haven't looked at my page with like fresh eyes in a long time because like I just kind of post what I post, but I probably don't look like a fitness account at all. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I was about to say
not.
that. Yeah, I've looked at mine and been like, oh shit, I haven't posted anything fitness related in like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Well, it's just something that's just, I guess I just got tired of it. And I thought, if I'm tired of it, surely everybody else is tired of it,
Yeah, and I think...
I don't even know the last time I made a post. Like,
yeah, he used to kind of do it a lot.
Like I talk to people on there, like Jenna said, friends we've made through social media. Like that's probably more DM stuff. Like occasionally I'll do some stuff on the stories, but I rarely actually make a.
People love it when he gets on. He won't post in so long, and he'll post and get like great engagement and great story replies. They're always waiting on him.
Like, there you are.
Yeah, he's still here.
Yeah. But and I think that is part of it too. I transitioned more to like posting about fitness less and just putting it on my story.
Yeah.
That's same. Yeah. Stories get way better engagement.
Yeah. Like, so I'll show stuff from a workout on my story. It's like, I don't think this is worth a post, but I know you guys still want to see this stuff. Some of you. So, but anyway, oh man, I was going to ask something about social media with you and I just forgot it. Damn it. Actually, I was going to ask you, because I've experienced this a couple of times and it's really weird. And it's mainly just locally, people who recognize me from the signposts because my mohawk and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get recognized in public like a lot? And is it weird or?
Usually, honestly, when we go out of town.
Yeah.
People in like my town don't really talk to me. Chris says I look intimidating. Like nobody ever talks to me. And I'm so nice, but Chris is like, you look intimidating.
Probably the weirdest for me was in the airport. This guy came up with his iPhone on FaceTime with his buddy and like puts in, he's like, my friend wanted to say hey to you. And I'm like, this is so fucking weird. Like, I'm just like, I'm nobody for one. And like, thank you. That's cool. Like, because it was he had seen me on one of the sign ones that went viral. And I was just curious if you experienced that kind of stuff, like
out of town usually.
What is that like?
I like it because it's always really fun girls, and I know that they follow me, so it's easy to strike a conversation. She'll be like, "Oh, how's Bug?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll just talk all day long." And so for me, it's just like meeting a friend. Like I've never met anybody. Usually, if somebody's going to approach you, they're not shy, so they're like, "Oh my gosh, hi," and then we just talk, and then
but you get a lot of like people that are scared to come physically talk to you, and you'll get a message that night like, "Hey, like I saw you and such," and it's like we should have come spoke, like.
Yeah, I'm always about like usually out shopping and stuff alone. Like come
that's
talk to me.
happened a few times. Like
that is odd how people are just so nervous or afraid to talk.
Well, if they know me, like I'm not like I'm so nice and like I'm easy to talk to, easy to approach. But Chris is always like, you just look. I think he thinks I look like a bitch.
Well, and two, I think some people just think because of the following she has that like maybe she thinks she's like some huge celebrity.
Because
like,
there are people like that.
Yeah.
Like we're from a small town.
Yeah,
like,
it's ridiculous.
We like to hang out and we like to talk. So.
I wanna hang out with you.
Come say hi.
Please be my friend. Please.
Come shake our hand.
But a lot in St. Louis, whenever I'm like down like Ballpark Village or something, because like First Phorm is such a big topic there. Everybody's familiar with First Phorm in St. Louis. So it's always cool to go there, especially for Summer Smash and all those things. Like
Summer Smash is definitely like everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
They want to talk to you. And it's really cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I wish I was
Can't
going.
believe it.
I know.
Lame.
I know. Next year though, I'll blow it out. Yeah, I was talking to Mike Cunahan on the podcast about that, and he was just saying how weird it is going from, he's an NYPD officer, in the grind, and then he goes to St. Louis, and it's like you're a celebrity. That's got to be weird.
Yeah, I heard what he said about it, and I agree with everything that he said. He's definitely spot on with that. It is interesting because you go there and they just treat you like gold. It's like unbelievable. Like I still can't believe.
Yeah, like some of the things we've done with them is like
we would never ever experience those things.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So just
it's unbelievable. They're just amazing. And then we come back to our little small town. It's like, wow, that was cool.
I mean, we had our first helicopter ride with those guys.
That's awesome.
I've
never ridden in a helicopter.
I think we've done it a few times with them.
It was actually cool. And it was a total surprise. Like
Andy's like, go in the middle of this field, and everybody's like, what are we doing? And then and then you just start hearing it, what is that?
Like this
huge helicopter comes
getting kind of close.
Yeah,
and it landed right in the field.
That was the first time we ever met them.
Yeah,
but I mean, gosh, there's been so many things that we've done with them. I mean, it's just over the years, it's always next level stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's been since 2013, and every trip we have out there, we come back and we're just like mind blown, like can't believe we just experienced that,
Yeah. Jenna, with the level of notoriety you do have, do you ever experience imposter syndrome? Do you know what that is?
Probably, I just don't know the name.
Because I've experienced that some just with like the stuff I was just describing. It's where it's like and Joe Rogan actually talks about this a lot on his podcast. He's like, it's so weird to me that I'm this famous. Like I'm just a normal person. Like I feel like an imposter. Like I don't know how I got here. Why the heck am I? Why do people hold me in such high regard? I'm just a normal human, that kind of thing. Like you feel like an imposter.
No, because I feel like if like Instagram just got deleted, like nobody would seek me out. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like people go to bed wondering where I'm at or like what I'm doing.
What if Instagram just gets deleted?
Yeah.
Good.
Really?
I'm kind of just over.
Do you fuck with YouTube at all?
No. And I don't mean that literally. I just mean like I feel like I'm just over.
Actually, that's a good question. What would you do if Instagram just got deleted?
Well, First Phorm wouldn't go anywhere. So I would continue to work with First Phorm.
But what would you be, a TikToker? What would you do?
I would be put my phone down or be doing nothing with my phone.
I think what he's asking is like, how would you engage?
How would you spend your time? What would you do?
I don't know. There'd be a new app. I guess, okay.
Facebook?
No
social media?
That's actually scary to think about. Now that I'm thinking about it, like what would she do with all that extra time?
It would just be the time thing. It wouldn't be anything.
Well, a lot of people probably know Jenna likes to decorate the house, redecorate the house.
Poor Chris. So. I'd be like, where's the power drill? He'd be like, oh, God, get her. Man. She needs to go do something.
There would definitely be a lot of that going on.
Yeah, I saw one of your stories recently. It was like, I'm looking for something to go right here in this space in the corner.
Yeah, I got busy. I hadn't looked for that yet. That's coming up next week.
But it is interesting to think, something. Especially those of us who have kind of built, quote unquote, our career on a platform. Like, what happens if it goes away tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't either.
But, I say like what I was saying, like kind of joking, because I just don't like kind of where Instagram's got as far as like how people think of themselves on it.
Yeah.
And I don't like being associated with that. Yeah. So to me, it would almost be like a clean slate. Let's take my core people. We'll go somewhere else. It'll be a lot happier. I don't need that number. I don't need to take all those people with me.
Just start like a
It doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
Jenna Fail app.
You could do that.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Shit.
No.
The Fail app. The Never Fail app.
Right.
I don't know what I would do.
It is an interesting like thought experiment though. Like tomorrow, if it's gone, what do I do? I guess I would just keep doing podcasts, but like the way I've grown my podcast is through Instagram.
Right. Same. But I think it's unrealistic. I guess the reason I think that too would be like, I'm not going to do that forever. You know what I mean? Like there has to be some point where I'm like not posting as often or kind of like stepping back. But again, like those are my friends. So I don't want to do that. But
right.
This is such a mind-boggling topic. I just can't even get my head around it because I don't know. Like I feel.
Well, it is weird to think like where is it going because like
I feel like I don't like where it's going.
Stuff like MySpace, like that's not a thing now.
I wish it was. Except for the top 8 friends, that was brutal.
That was
man.
That was that's stressful, man. Seeing if you're in somebody's top 8, then checking you're not in there anymore.
Oof,
like,
man, I didn't
what did I do?
What did I do, bro? I mean, I was your top 8 last week.
We started talking on MySpace. Actually, this is a true story. I would hang out at the skate park, like skateboarding park, and I Always thought all the boys were cute. I was always hanging out. Boys. And Chris was the only one that never would look at me, never talk to me. And I was like, that jerk. Yeah. Like, I thought he was just not nice. And
listen to this, fellas.
Right.
This is truth. Yeah, he would never look at me.
Women want what they can't have.
Oh, I didn't even want it because I thought you were not nice.
I didn't even want it.
And probably like 6 and 8 months later, he slid in my MySpace messages.
Shit. Slid in the DMs before that.
And I couldn't believe it. I remember I took a picture of it. And, well, no, I didn't. I must have just texted because we didn't have picture phones back then. And I messaged my friend and said, you won't believe who just messaged me. And I was like, Chris Fail. And she said, nuh-uh, get out. And I said, yeah, he did. He was like, what's up, girl? Whatever you said.
That's what you said?
I don't remember. It was probably something really corny.
Hey, I'm that guy that won't look at you. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. And I was like, get out of here. And then we went. This is funny. I'll tell our first date story because this is terrible. My dad, I was so young. We were both so young. And my dad's like, you're not going on a date. You can go on a double date. So I'm like, all right. So we get a couple of friends together and we go to hibachi. And I'd never been to hibachi. And I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy that style of food at the time. And so I didn't know what to get. And I didn't want to waste money. And I saw lobster tail and it was $8. And I said, wow, that's cheap. I probably won't eat it. I'll get that. And I get it and don't like it. Don't touch it. The lady's like, you want to go to go box? I'm like, no, I don't want it. Threw away this whole lobster tail. I mistaked the dollar sign. It was a 2. It was $28, which is like a lot of money back then. So I about wiped that wallet clean that day. And then we went to a movie. And then like literally probably years later, you brought that up. And I was like, what do you mean that $28 lobster? And he was like, I hardly had money for the movies after that.
Yeah, I don't remember how that got brought up.
I was so embarrassed. I would have been humiliated.
He's like, this girl?
Yes. What? I can't believe he took me out again.
Yeah, because I was working for like a landscaping company at the time.
Just part-time after school.
Yeah, just to have gas money and, money to go out on the weekends.
And this girl ordered lobster.
And threw it in the trash.
Wiped it out.
I would literally never.
Do you guys remember what the movie was for the first date?
I do.
Was it Hills Have Eyes?
It was The Hills Have Eyes. And I walked into the theater.
Good move, scary movie.
And my twin brother was in there. Do you remember that? Sam and Jason were in there just by coincidence.
Yeah.
Wait, you have you have a twin brother?
I have a twin brother. Yeah.
I didn't know that, actually.
And I have an older brother. Yeah, my twin brother is 16 minutes older than me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he's not on any, which really neither one of them.
Neither of us. Yeah, I'm like the only one that's on there. A lot of people think his brother's my brother because I'm always with Brother Dave. That's Chris's brother.
Yeah.
But they think we look alike. And they're like, oh, I totally see it. And I'm like, no, you don't, because it's not him.
That's cool. So, man. And then were you guys just together after that? Or was it like a whole period of dating? And
yeah,
we were pretty inseparable.
Yeah, I mean, that's really kind of when it started. So we dated for 4 years. And then we got married on our 4-year anniversary of dating.
Wow.
I mean, I was engaged in high school. And now, like, looking back, like, I'll meet, like, a 17-year-old, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, it's a baby.
Dude, I know. My parents were, so my mom was 16, my dad was 15. And when I see people that age, I'm like, Dude,
I think people look younger now.
Right.
I think it was me and you, or was it me and Sam were talking, like, back in the 80s, like, the high school players, dude, they look like men. They had, like, mustaches, big muscles. And
it was
a different time, and now they look like little kids. Yeah, I mean, it's wild.
Honest, yeah.
I mean, I do think there's definitely like, I mean, I know guys in their 30s who haven't grown up, so
it's true.
It's so fucking true these days. Yeah. I think you had to grow up a lot faster back then. Even like me,
like you had to work at an early age. Like, you had to do something to like help your family out, like.
And you had a lot more independence and responsibility and just all that. Like, I think there's a lot of helicopter parenting these days where it's like, the parents don't want the kids to do anything. And that's a struggle for me as a parent now. I mean, obviously, my daughter's only 4, so I have to watch her when all over the place. But I'm like, eventually there's going to come that time when I just have to be cool with her just playing out in the yard, and going to a friend's house and all that stuff. And it's like, I try to be cognizant of that because I see a lot of people today whose parents coddled them too much, and now they're like struggling as adults, right? And I think that's the big difference in what you see between like these 1980s high schoolers versus the ones today. I mean, the ones today are still children in high school. Like,
I don't feel like we were. I know, like maturity wise, and like we were definitely more mature, I think, than the average person our age at that time. But I feel like
I don't think either one of us like knew exactly what we were doing at that time, but like we knew where we wanted to be.
Well, we knew we wanted to do it together. Like, we don't know what we're doing, so let's do that together.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
We figured it
Like,
out.
let's be confused together.
Yeah.
Right. At least we got each other.
Right.
Yeah, and then we figured it out.
Right
but I mean, honestly, that's really probably been the core motto of our relationship from the very beginning was, you know, no matter what, like, I've got your back, you've got mine.
And he has, like, through it all. Like, even now, like, I look back at times, I'm like, I can't believe he's, like, had my back, you know, and same for him, like, through all that stuff. He's probably like, man, like, why'd she stay with me?
Yeah.
But too, like, that's a big thing too. Like, I didn't give up. And a reason for that would probably be, again, I do enjoy being alone. So it's kind of a different thing there. But what if I had given up?
Yeah.
What if you didn't just stick it out, you know? So I think
like, I don't know if we really spoke about it, but like communication, that's huge. And
we learned that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm leading to is like when she finally had the talk with me, you know, it was like
the talk about like, hey, you're kind of being an asshole with this bodybuilding thing.
Yeah. So like,
well, I feel like we had that. I think it blew up to like, hey, I'm fed up.
No, like it did.
It was
and
past
so
that.
I'm completely blown away because I'm like, what is she talking about? You know, because again, I had blinders on. I just didn't even.
So you were just caught off guard with that.
Completely. So initially I was defensive about it. And then I'm kind of like, shit, I really am kind of a douche.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, then it was okay. Like I've got to make it a point to be a better person, a better husband. And so that's kind of where I've shifted priorities from there.
I think self-awareness
if we would
is
not
so
have had that conversation.
And the self-accountability.
Yeah.
You know, if we would not have communicated and had that conversation, like, I don't know where things would have went because I was not even aware that she was unhappy at the time.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point is like sometimes guys, your significant other or whoever, like you might be assuming that they have ill intentions or pernicious intentions or whatever, and they're just doing their thing like you were doing. Yeah. You had no idea how it was affecting her. So like Chris said, just like have that conversation, talk to them, let them know, hey, this is not cool what you're doing, and maybe exactly what happened with you, you'll be like, oh, holy shit, I didn't even realize.
But I feel like conversation sometimes, because we've had conversations prior to that, and he was like, oh my God, I'm going to the gym. You know what I mean? And so I felt like it was like I had to shake him, like, hey, no, this is...
Yeah, because like I said,
he didn't want to hear the conversations before that.
On, like I just wasn't registering what she was saying.
Was it like, what did it ultimately take? Like, did you like threaten like, hey, I'm going to leave if you don't get your shit, you know,
yeah, we've had that talk.
Yeah, I mean, she...
Is that what it was with this?
Yeah, like she pretty much made it clear, like if it continued, like
that's it.
Probably were going to be separated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it actually got to that point.
And I think that I guess that just all of a sudden self-awareness.
Yeah, no, it shook me because, like I said, I didn't see her side of that.
Right.
You know? And it, in all honesty, it took a while for me to change my ways, but I knew I had to make that a priority to make the change.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys want to jump into some questions from folks?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Everybody good? Do we need bathroom breaks or anything like that?
Yeah. If we can take a bathroom break real quick.
Let's do a bathroom break. And we are back. Let's pull up some questions. We got so many.
Little crispy boy.
Crispy baby right there.
Yeah. Oh, switching to PBR.
Yeah. I'm all over the place.
So this one we kind of already talked about. Do you all manage your exercise routines together or individually? Individually, right? Yeah. You guys do your own thing.
We do now, yeah.
Have either of you lost sight of who you were and had to rekindle the spark?
I guess we kind of
covered that. Is there anything else like
No.
that or?
No, I would just say as long as you always.
Well, let's talk about the love language because kind of during that time.
We actually got a question about that too. So
yeah, we went through kind of another. I mean, I don't care. I'm not shy. Like I'll talk about stuff, but like we went through another kind of really rough patch after the fire.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we handled it very differently.
Well, for those who don't know, when you say the fire, you mean your.
Yeah, we had a house fire in 2017.
Yeah.
We had just moved so we were moving from our small hometown, about 45 minutes from where we grew up to, I'll call it a bigger town. It's still a small town.
Right.
But there are more options things to do. So we were going to rent till we kind of figured out what area in this town we wanted to eventually buy a house, build a house, whatever. So we got everything set up. We moved in that Friday, and Monday morning, I was actually, because where I was working at the time was a couple of miles away from the house, so I was actually coming home to surprise her for lunch, have lunch with her, and then head back to work. And so I'm on the way to the house, and fire trucks are coming past me. Had no clue they were going to our house.
Holy shit.
So I pull into the neighborhood, and that's kind of when I first saw smoke, and took the turn onto the road we lived on, and that's when I found her she was actually laid out in the road. So I kind of forgot a little bit of things at that point just because I had no clue what exactly was going on. I thought she was hurt.
Right. You panic.
Yeah. So that period's kind of black as far as everything that happened, but
I had been looking for the animals. That's why I was like
exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. I went and looked for the animals, but anyway, I wasn't going to get into that specifically, but so like that was like so traumatic for me. And then he like was at work, so like he didn't really experience it in the way that I did. Like he experienced a loss, but it was just a very different level of trauma.
Well, again,
that had happened.
I guess kind of going back to what we spoke about earlier with how I felt about our relationship as being that provider, and I just wanted her to be happy doing whatever it is she chose to do, whether that was, stay-at-home wife, whatever career she chose, like whatever. So when we lost everything, my mentality shifted to I've got to do whatever I've got to do to get us back, get a roof over our head,
right?
Be that provider again, give her the shelter she needs. So like I was just 100% focused there and totally lost sight of the emotional trauma that she was going through.
But it wouldn't have mattered because then that's like I was very I kept it kind of to myself.
Yeah.
So I was like really very, very badly struggling, and he was almost like a light switch. He's like, okay, well that happened. Now I'm going this way, and I'm like, well, I'm at the crossroads. I'm not over this, and I'm not ready to go here. Where do I go? And I feel like Chris was all the way down the road by the time I was like, wait a minute, I still don't know what to do.
Right, because you were so set on we need to rebuild this.
Yeah. I guess personality wise, I mean, we openly know like our personalities are different. Where if
I can't tell.
I very quickly, if there's nothing I can do to change the situation, then I'm off of it. I'm on to like, so okay.
You are a pragmatist, basically.
Right. I've got to go to this. Whereas, I don't want to say that you necessarily dwell on something. But
I do. Yeah. I think I sit and like, what could I have done differently? What could I do? Like, could I change something? Or...
Yeah. And I'm like, I cut it right then and there, and I'm on to, path B.
But so after all that was happening, like I could feel myself, like I quit going out, like because I was scared to leave our house. Like I was terrified because I was afraid it was going to happen again. And then, I mean, I like very badly, like very seriously, like I don't even want to get it. Like I would like touch outlets. I would touch things, like make sure, like I would panic. I had like this severe, like.
So is that what it was? Like an electrical fire?
Yeah. It was just freak.
Like,
so that like scared me because I couldn't control it.
Right.
So that just gave me this whole level of fear that he didn't have because he didn't experience it the way that I did. So probably a year and a half goes by, and like I'm like really like getting down in it, and I think we finally like I don't know, I felt pulled away from you. And we talked about that, like you too. It was like,
again, this was
we felt very disconnected because he was on in a different place than I was.
And it was just, I guess, another period of I didn't know that she was having those struggles because we weren't talking about them.
Right.
Because I thought it would go away. I was just like, it'll go away. Like, I mean, just like, I won't say anything. Like, it'll probably just go away.
And that is tough when like you're one person in a relationship and you have something burdening you. You don't necessarily want to burden the other person with it.
Right.
Because you think it might go away, but then it doesn't.
Well, I know him too. And you can't say you won't. You'd be like, it's fine. Like, just go somewhere. And I'm like, no, like I literally I can't.
Yeah. And again, I guess
because we're two different personalities.
It's the personality thing. Like
he wouldn't have understood too. And I really was just like, okay, like, cause I'm very like practical with myself. I'm like, and I knew like, this is ridiculous. Like, this isn't going to happen again. Like that was freak. the likelihood of that is so small. Like logically I can see it, but like emotionally, like I was just completely debilitated by it. So eventually, like long story short, like I got into therapy for it, like to try to like help me like some coping and getting through it, which really helped a lot. But through that, me and you were like really going through it again. And we were like lacking communication. And somebody recommended the 5 Love Language book, which is like such a short book, but it can totally change our marriage. Like
it really did. Like I know that may sound kind of corny, but
no, I mean, I've read the book and
we did the test and, we read the book and, it really did open my eyes to her love language and the things that she feels appreciated. And she like,
which mine is, because I know people want to know, my love language is acts of service. Okay. So like if I'm going to go somewhere, he's like, hey, I looked at your tires. They all look good. Just want to make sure you get there safe. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
which is really a simple thing to do. Like,
like it matters.
In all honesty, like to give her the things that, she sees as love are just very simple, put my dishes in the dishwasher when I'm done instead of, just leaving them laying on the couch somewhere.
I think that goes for a lot of us guys.
Like pick my socks up, put them in the washer. Like,
yep.
Yeah, little things.
And I think in general that's the case. Like oftentimes, if we just figure it out, like usually the things we can be doing are like little things that go a long way in the relationship, right? So what's his love language?
Physical touch.
Hey, we got a lot in common, man.
And you know what? Our lowest one on both of ours was gift giving. And people are always so interested on holidays and Valentine's. Like, what did he get you? I'm like, he didn't get me anything. Like, we don't do gifts. Like, it's so rare.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, really, like, thinking back to even when we were dating, like, I don't really remember, like, we go do things as a couple.
I'd rather him get me a hotel room for the night and we go
like we
hang out and, like, experience the city somewhere. Like, that's what we would rather do.
Yeah, like, like birthdays, like we go do things. Like we don't buy like expensive.
If he brought me like a tennis bracelet, I'd be like, Chris Fail, take that back. What am I going to do with that? Well, like we just don't do that.
And I know like she wouldn't wear it, so like why go waste the money?
And everybody who's listening, well, maybe you don't know, I'm very minimal, cheap. I love a deal, so I'm not wearing anything expensive. I don't even own anything like very nice. Like
the rarity that like she actually goes and buys like an expensive piece of clothing. Like time she gets home, she's like, I need to take this back.
I did that last week. I'm like, I gotta take this back. And I'm like, he's like, how much was it? And it's like, it's really not that much. But I'm like, but it wasn't like super cheap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just talking to both of you, it sounds like you both have really high self-awareness, and I think that's
for sure
super important. You know, I mean, you both do. It's not just one way. It's like you both know yourselves and you know your partner.
Well, I think because of that too, we know our standing with each other.
I guess that part, not necessarily difficult, but we both have changed and changed again throughout our relationship. So that being aware of, the other spouse like that.
Yeah. We're very considerate of each other. Yeah. But I feel like
that's super important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's all that matters essentially. Because I feel loved by you. And, but it's interesting because like, even like through like a couple years ago, whenever we were like going through it, like it was, I don't even know how to like describe it. Like I was like licking my wounds. Like I'm still very hurt. And then like, and I know you were hurt too, but it was just, we were hurting on different levels and not there for each other. And I think a big thing was like, I was faking it for him, like happy. Like you were really surprised to learn I was as down in it as I was because I kept convinced like if I could put a smile on today and then maybe tomorrow I'll be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I knew in my head it's irrational. I'm like, this isn't right. And then it was a snowball of shit. It was so bad. Like just how down in it you get. Cause things they just trigger other things. And then before I know it, I'm like, who am I? Like I had like this identity thing. Like, what am I doing? Who am I? Cause I'm such an outgoing person. But like now I feel like I'm scared to leave my house. And I haven't left in so long, like for a long period of time. Like I'm scared to go to the grocery store. I'm nervous of people. Like I have social anxiety now. Like
wow.
Yeah.
It was very weird. Like, and I think you probably didn't recognize me either there for a certain period of time.
Yeah. I mean, like I realized like you literally weren't going anywhere for like, and I think I tried to encourage it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, just wasn't getting anywhere. And then I think we ended up finally talking and you kind of finally opened up a little bit about just, the emotional damage, being afraid to leave.
Yeah.
And then that's when we kind of both like I didn't want it to sound like, get taken the wrong way, but we kind of started talking about, should we maybe talk to someone? Like,
which I've never been opposed to that anyway. But
no, and I'm a big advocate of that. I've done that, and especially for men, I think don't be afraid of that shit, man. Like that makes you more of a man. Like you're comfortable enough to be vulnerable with your emotions and talk to somebody about shit. Like don't be ashamed of that.
Yeah, right. and we even we talked about doing like couples therapy, and then like.
But it was a me thing. It was just like,
well, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like we ended up. Kind of getting to like this was more of something that she needed to kind of do on her own and get some of those feelings out, in privacy.
Yeah, because it was just hard because I don't want to get like all crazy details. It'd be literally a whole other thing. But like I left that morning and everything was fine, and then I came home and it wasn't fine.
Wow.
So it just became this thing of like, well, I'm leaving my house now and it's fine, but what if it's not?
The house.
Yeah. So, and then we had the cats and we went through losing Moose and Rocky and I was just like, oh my God, like Bug and Darla, like they were on my mind. I'm like, I should just stay home. Like, I don't need to go shop today. It's fine. And then it just kind of became toxic almost. And then, opening up. And I think I snapped. I remember it came because I blew up about something really stupid. And you're like, what's wrong? Like that, what's wrong with you? Like, you don't care about stuff like that. And I just blew up. And then I was just like, it was over at that point. Like I was just all right, I got to talk to you. I got to tell you some stuff.
But I think that speaks to the relationship you guys have too. Because instead of like meeting that with like, more conflict, you're like, what is wrong? Whoa, that's not you.
Yeah.
That awareness again. Yeah. It's super important.
And I've kind of learned like I do kind of have to push her a little bit because she knows this and I know this. Like she will hold things in and, I can do the, hey Jenna, what's wrong? Well, nothing. Jenna, what's wrong?
I'm a fixer, and normally like everything.
Yeah, and I really have to push to the point where she's kind of irritated at me, but then she finally will. And it's a lot of times it's something minor that was kind of on her mind, and I'm like, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So
that's true. But anyway, so going through all that, learning each other's love language, and being able to like do that for each other, like. Made such a difference for us. Like I would recommend it to everybody. And they're like, this little book. I'm like, that little book made a big difference for us.
Works. Yeah. It's worth it.
But also I had to show up for myself. And I feel like that was what really was a big thing was I was so buried in my work, showing up for everybody. Mm-hmm. And then like, it kind of got to a point where I'm like, I haven't showed up for myself in years.
Yeah.
And then I like, whenever I did show up for myself, I'm like, well, what do I want?
I think
kind of lost herself because she was prioritizing everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but also like intentionally, like I'm not ready to deal with some of this yet. So
I'm not ready to deal with myself.
Right.
Yeah. So I got all of you. I'm going to focus on that. Right.
Yeah.
I don't have to look at this.
And then one day I had to look.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what I saw. So I was like, all right, I got to fix it.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody could be there if they were honest with themselves and then you grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the hardest place to look is inward.
Yeah.
So, all right. Oh my gosh. All right. We got some interesting questions.
Bring them on.
Okay. A lot of these we've covered, like how do you handle conflict? How do you keep the spark alive, spending so much time apart? I mean, anything you would add to that? I mean, we've kind of talked about the fact that you guys do your own thing.
We really don't spend that much time apart though. And, like it's...
I don't feel apart from you, but I guess you do. Like he works when he's gone, he's working 14 hours. And then whenever he goes to the gym, that's 2 hours and then he sleeps. So I don't see him when he works.
Yeah, like when I'm on rotation, it's like I guess what we have like 2 hours.
But I know that like he's working. Yeah. Like I don't.
So I think for you guys, it's like you just maximize the time together.
Well, we flirt too. We're flirty people, so I think we.
Yeah, luckily, like depending on how busy things are at work, like I can quick phone call, text message,
or just a text, thinking of you, love you. Like, oh, I love you too, and then that's it. And it's like that's all I need. Like I didn't even need that, but I appreciate that. Right, like thank you.
But you're right. So like. In the past, on those days off, my mentality was like, oh man, like I can really kill it in the gym these days. Like I can, food, everything's on point. And looking back, it's like, dude, it's really selfish.
I'm sitting at home like, okay.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like, okay, well, I can go to the gym early in the morning and then me and Jenna can go do all these things for the day. Like,
some mornings I wake up, he's already out of the bed and he's already there. So I'm like, okay, by the time I get up, get my coffee, shower, get ready, we'll be ready to go do something for the day.
And I've learned something that simple, like she knows time she gets out of bed, she's like, he's thinking of me. Like, something that simple.
You're doing it so you can spend time with her.
Right.
Yeah. Goes a long way, fellas. Listen up. All right, I'm going to ask this one. Fuck it. Might be the PBRs. My man has never made me orgasm.
Listen.
I've lied to him for 2 years. Do I tell him?
No. You waited too long. No. That'll break him.
They're past the point of no return?
I would have to agree with that. I would...
All right, here's my advice, because she asked multiple times every time I posted the thing, so she wants an answer. I would say... She can
fix this and
you can fix
make that a reality.
But here's what you do is you
does she do?
Say, I want to try something totally different. Like, let's try something new.
Okay, so don't say, hey, I'm not orgasming.
You cannot say that.
Say, let's try this.
Yeah, just be like, hey, I'm feeling something different.
Right.
And then you use that time to find what you like. And then if you like it, he'll know you like it, and then he'll be more inclined to do it.
He'll be like, oh, wow,
that was different.
Yeah, never felt that.
No, you can't say it
before.
Right.
Yeah.
So he feels like he won.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, oh man, I can do all the things. That way and this way.
Yeah.
All the ways.
Guys, guess what I did last night?
I think that kind of gets at like the core of something that's pretty common with women is like they, like you were saying, like, I'll just keep it to myself. I don't want to, like, let him know, like, tell him that shit's not, working.
Yeah.
Like, just.
I would just be like, I would just be like, I don't really like that.
Right.
Really...
Right. Well, I'm saying like in the very beginning.
I don't know if I would even say anything.
You got to be open.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say anything. Like I would, like you said, I would just
play it at a different angle.
She should suggest something different.
Right.
That works for her.
Yeah.
He's gonna like it.
Yeah.
He's probably.
He's not having a bad time either way.
Right.
That's very true. He gets his result every time.
Right.
Okay. Have you had a rough patch? How'd you work through it? We definitely covered that. What's your favorite thing to do together? And then smiley face. Y'all are so cute.
My favorite thing to do with you is we go out of town and then it sounds horrible. What you like to bar hop. Like I like to go try a good craft cocktail and we get a little loopy and laugh and
that's cool.
Try all the drinks.
I would agree with that.
That's what we do.
It's really kind of our go-to thing. Yeah.
We go out of a city.
We like to eat, obviously,
eat and drink.
Especially, we were both competing. We were, pretty restrictive with stuff. So it was like that one meal a week was like, it was planned to a T.
Yeah. I think that's important.
It was so upsetting to go somewhere and have a bad meal.
That feeling, that one
cheat
meal a week.
You're like, dude.
You're looking forward to it all.
They burnt my burger. I am pissed for 2 weeks.
Why is this lady so mad at me?
But so, like, we like trying, new restaurants. We like going craft drinks, craft beers. Like that's
breweries or something like that. Like we just really enjoy that because it's just a good time to relax. Like we sit down together. We have nothing to do. We have a few drinks
in the moment with each other. Like
cool.
Well, people watch.
Yeah,
make up stories.
I enjoy that.
That itself
is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else here. What's something you wish you would have known in your early 20s about relationships?
Probably love language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because really kind of looking back, like that was
pivotal for our marriage at that time.
It's funny. The next question I looked at is, what's your love languages?
I'm glad people are aware of what that is because I'd never heard of that in my early 20s. So at least it's a topic of conversation these days.
Yeah, I don't even know when the book came out, but
there's literally multiple love language questions. Okay. I know you said you like to hand kids back to their parents, but any changes to that?
No.
No plans for kids?
No.
We've talked about this. I'm really good either way. Like, I know she would be an amazing mom, like without a doubt. Like she just has that motherly.
That's funny that people think that because I don't feel like maternal at all.
No, like you can just tell, like friends of ours that have had kids, like, when she holds them, like there's just a different spark in her eye. Like,
yeah.
But in all honesty,
she's shaking her head no for those listening.
She does, but yeah, in all honesty, I'm really good either way. Like, I'm not going to be upset if we don't, but
if it happened, it happens. But we have very proactively tried to have it not happen for our entire marriage. Yeah. So I'm on team no. And I think a big thing too is like the way we were raised. I had an amazing childhood growing up. I feel like I wouldn't know how to raise a kid today because I'd be like, you're not going to ride your bike to Walmart? What are you doing? Like, and then I'm like, wait, no, you can't do that because that's kind of dangerous now. Like, well, what are you supposed to do? And I wouldn't want him to be buried in a phone or a tablet. But I don't know. I just feel like I really, truly wouldn't know how to raise a kid today. Yeah. And I wouldn't like the way I I know you can raise a kid however you want to, but it would just be a challenge, I think.
It's more challenging today.
If they have friends who are like,
it's very different.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I was growing up, we were
outside.
Dude, they put me outside to lock the door.
Yes.
You said, come back when it gets dark.
Exactly. And it's like now.
And I lived everybody.
Their face is buried in video games, computers, you know.
And they don't know how to talk to people in real life. So.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I that was my biggest reservation was like, man, I'm bringing a human into this world. I thought seriously about that, you know, and it's really something to consider. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'll still do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that's important, which again is
that's what people tell us. They're like, we need like people that think the way y'all do to like have kids because we need more of those kids. And I do agree to that. But
I agree with those people for sure.
I'm just not there yet. But I'm only 29. I'm still very young.
We got a couple years.
Yeah, you guys.
We got some time.
And you're 32, right?
Yeah, so, I'll be 33 this September.
Yeah. So we're close.
I'll be 30 next month. We're like 2 years apart.
Yeah. I mean, we're basically the same age. Yeah. And dude, I will say, like, I hate, this sounds so terrible. I hated kids. Like, I couldn't, like, if somebody had a little toddler or young kid, I couldn't talk to them. I never wanted to hold babies. As soon as I had one, dude,
different
the switch goes off.
I hear that.
I love kids. Like, anybody has a kid, like, I'd rather talk to their kid than them.
Yeah.
Like, it's just because I love being a dad so much. Like, it's the coolest thing ever. So if you're out there and you're like I was, I mean, don't totally write it off. You know,
it's not totally written off, but I will say we are absolutely. It's not in our plans.
Well, you got time too. Yeah, you got time.
Right.
So,
and I feel like we both would. I think we both would have a hard time with like the baby phase.
It's rough.
Yes,
dude.
I feel like
it's rough.
You know, like a 3 or 4 year old, like when you can talk to them and like do something like that. To me, like that's cool. Like that's the cool phase.
My daughter's 4 now. Like we have conversations.
Yeah.
And then I totally trip out because I'm like, you're a human that I made, and I'm talking to you now. Like, this is so weird, and you're really smart. Like, where'd you get that from? You know, but it's cool. This question is like, I don't know. I feel like you guys just naturally don't have an issue with this, but maybe you would have some advice for this person. How do you not get bored of each other? Sounds like maybe they get bored of their significant other.
That is what that sounds like.
I mean, I feel like that's kind of up to both parties. Like, you know, Jenna does a good job, like, keeping me interested with her. Like, and I try to do the same for her. Like, I try
because she knows your love language.
I mean, that really is a true point. That's a true point to that. Yeah. Like, she knows the things that I like, and, you know, she intentionally does those things to kind of keep the spice there. Yeah.
Well, I think too, like thinking outside the box, I always want to keep him surprised. Like pretty regularly. Like, what can I do to step myself up?
It's so cool after so long that's still the case.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's really important.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd be like, what would he not expect? Let me do that. Let me try that.
It's like, that's kind
of cool. So I would say, I mean, to this individual, like if you're not finding yourself of that mindset where you're actively trying to intrigue the other person, I mean, maybe, you know, I don't know their status, but like,
I think you have
think
to do
about that.
Yeah.
That's important, right? Okay. I'm not asking that. This is a good question because we were talking about this earlier, Chris, actually, when we took the break. How do you know when it's issues you should work through instead of issues you should just walk away from? And because Jenna, you said like sometimes you don't need to resolve it.
I would ask myself, would I get a divorce over this? No. Moving on.
And that's that.
Moving on.
Yeah, I mean,
Ultimately,
like don't sweat the little things. Like I said, we argue, and a lot of times I think in the middle of the argument, we both kind of have that light bulb that, like, you know what, this is really stupid on both parties. And it's really like we both see it at the same point in time, and we just kind of walk away. Yeah,
it's kind of like, okay, we love each other. Why are we arguing about this shit?
Right.
Like,
is it something? Is it something that like really deserves like a heart to heart? Like we need to like, hey, this is.
You'll know if it's that, but I do feel like there's a lot of people these days who act like there's some people who will think this is horrible advice. Like, no, you need to work through all of it, talk through everything. Like that sounds exhausting. I don't want to be exhausted in my relationship. Like,
Yeah, well, we also live in a society that wants to be offended all the time, too.
Right.
So give me a break.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, are you just slightly offended by something, or is this an actual problem?
Right. I think what Jenna said is great. Like, would I get a divorce over this? Is it really that serious? No. Okay. Let's just move on.
Suck it up.
What do you do if you have a fight? We've talked about that. Children, we talked about that. Not asking that question.
You've got me interested.
Yeah, let me see, because maybe we'll answer it. Let me see this.
I mean, I don't think you guys have these
I got these on.
type of disagreements, but
oh yeah, no.
yeah, this is a silly question.
I will say there are none, but
right, I got that feeling. More love language stuff. Okay, this is a good question. All right, would Chris get upset? And I don't know why it's targeted this way. I guess maybe her boyfriend or husband would get upset. Would Chris get upset if you asked to see his cell phone or vice versa?
That is one thing we don't do.
I wouldn't get upset, but I mean, we've never.
But that trust is there
that shows
anyway.
a distrust.
I think. So to that point, I think if she were to ask that, like, I would immediately feel like she doesn't trust me for something. Like,
right.
You know,
so immediately
it's a bigger
you're on
issue.
your guard. Like,
right.
Yeah. Why?
Right. Not that there's anything for me to hide, but immediately I would be like, okay, what is this about?
Yeah.
So it sounds like this person's significant other does not want her looking at his phone, and that's probably why.
That's a problem. Right. If I couldn't give you my phone right now and say, look at whatever you want. I don't delete stuff off my phone like that. Look whatever you want. Right. I'm not hiding anything, and I know you would do the same thing. But I think if you have to have that conversation, or you put the password on, you don't tell them what the password is, or you won't let them have it, there's a reason. So there's a bigger issue than not being able to look at your phone. Yeah,
like we both have our phones password protected, but like we both know what the passwords are.
Right.
You know,
like
I would never, and this is honest God truth, a few times like that you fall asleep on the couch for work, and I'll look to see if you have your alarm set. I literally almost out of my peripherals, just out of respect for him, like, because I'm like, I don't want to see something and then be like, well, what? And then I'm snooping. Like, well, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, because whatever. So honestly, it'll just be like type in like clock on the thing, and because I don't want to snoop, and I'm like, I want to make sure it doesn't oversleep for work. But yeah, I would never snoop through your phone ever. Yeah,
so I think that to that question, there's kind of it's like two-sided. It's like, why do you feel the need to see his phone?
That's the issue.
And I was going to say that, like, is there a reason that you feel like you should look at his phone?
And then also, why does he not want you to see it when you ask?
So it is a double-sided coin for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that answers that. Your values do align. There's a lot of love language questions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This person, I mean, we've kind of touched on this, but how often do you argue? We do every day, and I'm exhausted after 8 years.
I'm exhausted hearing it.
That would be very exhausting.
Yeah. I mean,
we don't
arguments happen, but
honestly,
it shouldn't be that frequent.
I think we've only gotten in arguments
times a year. I mean, really, like arguments.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say 2 blow-up arguments we've ever had in our marriage, and then maybe every couple months we really just get on each other's nerves to where maybe voices get raised.
Usually it's just bitching with each other. But it's not
aggravated.
I wouldn't call those arguments. Yeah,
we don't argue.
We just get a little pissy with each other every now and then.
Yeah, no, we don't argue. That's very exhausting. And then what are you arguing about? I guarantee it's nothing worth arguing about ever.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like they almost argue for the sake of arguing. If you're arguing every day,
some people are like
you just get on each other's nerves.
But is there something external that you're dealing with that you're bringing into the relationship? Like I would question that, because I would say some of our stuff is, maybe Jenna's stressed with stuff she's got going on. Maybe
I'm annoyed with something else, and then he just like rubs me wrong with something. I'm like,
and
then if
we're all guilty of that.
Yeah. So when we're both externally irritated by something, then we get pissy with each other. And it's like,
right, and then you got to say, well, wait, you're my person. Wait,
right. But we have never argued like to where one of us slept on the couch or anything. I think both of us like a good night's sleep in the bed. So even if I'm mad at you, I'm just like, I'm still going to sleep.
I tend to fall asleep on the couch, and she'll just leave me there to like not bug me. But
I used to not leave him out there. I used to wake him up, and he would get like irritated. But I'm like, dude, I don't want you to get crank neck. Like, I'm trying to wake you up.
Good sleep.
So we went out with a couple. I can't remember who it was, like 2 years ago, and he was like, she always wakes me up. And I'm like, I'll let you sleep from now on. And ever since that moment, I just let him sleep. And he'll come into bed around 4 a.m. I hear him tiptoeing in there.
Yeah, I forget who that was, but I feel like they felt the same way. They were like, man, like my wife wakes me up and it's like, you don't disturb a good sleep. And I'm like, dude, same thing.
I was like, all right. I don't mind having the bed to myself.
I'm just listening to this thinking like, I have no choice. I'll have a 4-year-old jumping on my head. This is for Jenna. How did you know he was the one you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
Gosh, I was so young.
He was a good skater.
Yeah, he could do a boneless 360 like you would not believe.
I'm surprised you remember that.
You always had the best one.
I knew that's what it was.
My nickname around the skate park was Grasshopper because
he could get high. And Chris was so skinny back then, too. Chris was about 140 pounds soaking wet, and he had the longest legs. Yeah, so he could really get up there. I would say, this is like going to go deep for a minute, but
go deep.
I met Chris like 6 months after my mom passed away when I was 14. And I was going through it bad, just really, really, really struggling, and didn't really care about really anything. I had a great family still, but it was just like the glue of your family is completely pulled apart, and was just really having a hard time. And then Chris comes along, and I was excited about tomorrow. And years later, I was still excited about tomorrow.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't say exactly. You're just like, it was different, and I was excited about life again. And
I still am, even today. Yeah. So I would say whenever that feeling didn't go away, I was just very intrigued at the future with him, and still am. Well,
same question for Chris then.
Yeah, I don't really, there wasn't like a pinpoint moment necessarily. It was just like, I was interested, and it's like that interest still to this day has never gone away. Like, I want to wake up and spend the day with Jenna,
Yeah, ever since you woke up from being a dick in the gym.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, he didn't care about it right that moment.
I'm just giving you a hard time. This one, I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit about this, but not specifically. And I think that sometimes guys struggle with this, at least guys I've talked to, in communicating this to women, the importance of sex in a relationship. Now, I have guy friends who will keep it to themselves. They're like, I want to do it more, but she's, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. Like, but ultimately that never ends well. So what would you guys say about that?
That's very tricky because you cannot put a blanket over, like,
that's true too,
because everybody's different. But I would say, I think it's important, very important. Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, like, that's my love language. Like, and I know how
I understand what you're putting out.
Like, I know how this sounds like, but it's almost hard to describe the feeling. But it's like if I didn't have that physical affection,
Jenna's just smiling over here. Well, no, look,
I don't want to say this was like I expected it like on the daily, but it you kind of feel that distance as time goes on, when that's your language, right? So,
but my second love language would be physical.
And I know how silly this sounds, but for me, it's like I almost feel detached, or like I'm like, did I do something? Like, why is she not?
Sure.
Like,
well, I know, like, so, physical touch is mine as well. And I know that, like, and talking to other guys about this kind of stuff, it's like if you're not getting that aspect of the relationship, you almost, like, you start to feel like less of a man. Mm-hmm. Like, what did I do? Like what you said. And it's not, and the reason I want to discuss this, and I think it's important, especially to women who are listening, is like, it's not that he's being superficial or like, it's all about sex or anything like that, but it's literally part of what, like, makes him who he is.
Yes.
Right.
And you have to understand that aspect of it, I think, is important.
But also, too, the love language of physical touch isn't necessarily sex. It's not sex. It's hand-holding. It's back massage, whatever.
Like
I don't know.
Sitting on the couch watching TV, like rubbing your head.
She has a nightly routine, and she knows this. Like, I like the fingernails just kind of lightly tickling my back.
I have to tickle his back every night. And,
yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I like making him happy. He likes making me happy. So it's just you can't blanket the amount, but I would just say I think it is very important. Yeah. We both work to. And
I mean, really, reading the book kind of opened both of our eyes to that.
Yeah.
We both, after reading it, we both realized
where we were
each other's love language. We both made an honest effort to improve on showing that to each other.
Man, this podcast is just like an advertisement for that book.
I mean, truly.
5 love languages.
It works.
On any bookstore.
But it's important, I think, that just like females realize that, like, he's not trying to be an asshole or trying to just make it about sex, or he's not just.
It's a connection thing. It's not a physical thing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's because he translates that into the things that maybe you, when I say you, the female, are making that connection in other ways.
Yeah.
So anyway,
now if that's low on the other individual's list, I mean, I can see where
that's where the issue
that's
comes
going to
in.
be tough. Like that person is going to have to.
That's not something you can force or like make yourself do. Like that's where it's an issue, and that's why I said you can't blanket it. Say like, oh, this many times a week, because the other person might be like not what they want to do, and if they don't want to do it, then
and it's not that they're not attracted to you physically. It's just literally they don't have that appetite for it.
That's a hurdle, so I don't know how to overcome that.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think that's a deal breaker for a lot of, relationships is.
Well, if you're talking being together a decade, two decades, like eventually.
That situation, unfortunately, that's where couples, split because maybe they're getting that attention from someone else.
That sucks.
Yeah. I mean, that happens. And going back to the lady who has gone 2 years and not said that she wasn't orgasming. I mean, same thing with that. Like, don't let it fester. Don't let it keep going.
Right.
Like if you feel like it's not enough and you want more, just talk about it. Yeah. Like just communicate. Like it's so important. And
I still say don't tell him.
Well, about the orgasm part, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm saying like if there's a
there has to be a communication
in the amount of sex,
yes,
period, right?
Sure.
Like don't wait 5 years and then say, by the way, I haven't been happy with the
only thing worse than 2 years is 3 years or 4 years.
As soon as you can, just talk about stuff. I think those are like the main questions. There's a lot of kind of the same question over and over. People want to know about love languages. They want to know about how you get through arguments and fights, that kind of stuff. So I think we covered most of it. Is there anything you guys would add to what's made you
specific questions? Did anybody ask you anything?
She sent them to me.
He sent them. They kind of blanketed a lot of the things.
Yeah, a lot of women were just interested in like how you get through fights, how you deal with conflict, how, that kind of thing. There was one about what do you do when your man pulls away? I feel like we kind of talked about that.
Yeah. But honestly, like, I feel like most of it's not like one of us pulls away from the other one. It's like we're pulling into ourselves to like figure things out.
Right.
And then we're just not being open about talking about things.
Yeah. You're not actively like pushing away from the other person. Right. You're just focusing inward on crap.
And that can be a big issue because that proved to be an issue for us whenever we were going through that. Yeah. And then you were just being the protector and doing what you thought you needed to do, which is what you needed to do. But
and I think if we would have communicated earlier, because again, that did kind of go on for a period of time where I thought I was doing the right thing to get us back to, we need a roof over our head,
I think a lot of guys can kind of go into that default provider mode and they're just not cognizant.
And I appreciate that in him. Like, I love that about him. I love that he's that person. He's the stand-up provider. He's the make sure I'm taken care of kind of man. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I was going through it.
I'm kind of toxic.
Yeah. You are not toxic.
These days, that would be. Yeah, hey, that's a great segue into something I like to talk about. No, I mean, but it's true, man. And I honestly, I hear from a lot of females they're literally like, where are all the good guys? Where are the guys who want to be stand-up providers, like what they call real men, the people that would be characterized as toxic masculine guys. Guys are being told at a young age, like, that's not cool. Don't be that. Don't be competitive.
That's so interesting because that's kind of new to me. Like, I haven't even been hearing about this, but it makes me wonder, what to you is your definition of of masculinity? What is that defined as?
It's to me, it's a protector, a provider, someone who's responsible for those who depend on him, who is always striving to be a better person. And look, a lot of those aspects can be applied to women as well. It's just like what makes a good human.
Right.
But, I think specifically there's been an attack on men lately saying, and some of this stems to like the participation trophy mentality. Absolutely. So like if you're a guy who's hyper competitive, like you're seen as toxic in that environment because they want everybody to win. And that's not what advances society forward. Andy Frisella didn't create First Phorm by everybody winning. He outcompeted everyone by doing things the right way and doing things his way. And that's kind of being.
But a lot of people mistake that competitiveness to say he wants to see everyone else lose, and that's not the case at all.
Right.
It's two very different things.
He wants to win, but he also wants everyone around him to win as well. So there is confusion when it comes to that.
Well, that's what I feel the issue
doesn't
is.
necessarily mean you want to see everyone else.
I think
fail.
everybody's blanketing so many different traits under the same name. So I think a lot of people think masculinity, they think ego, over muscle, like just this huge jerk. Like, but I'm like, no, whenever I think of masculinity, I think like I would judge a man's masculinity off of how safe I feel in their presence.
Right. And that's pretty consistent across the females, because we surveyed a bunch of females and they're like, I just want to feel protected and safe and taken care of, you know, if something happened physically or, you know, even women who, because we talked to some like badass jujitsu women who could definitely fend off somebody. They're like, I still want to be with a man who's a little more than me.
You know,
absolutely,
they want that differential, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we were hearing with most women.
All of my girlfriends are that way. Like they all love like a masculine man.
It's like sometimes you can't
Just
put a word to it.
It's just, you know, when you see it.
Right.
It's like,
right.
and I like that.
You know, when you see it, and again, like single women who will like reach out to me because of my message, they're like, if you find any of them, send them my way because it's tough out there. And it's like, it's weird.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I think it's not only that, but I do think it's I'm seeing a lot of women who are doing everything on their own, and which is a great thing. I'd love to see that. But I think especially even in our marriage, it's important for me to let you do things for me. If you change the batteries in the smoke alarms, it's not because you don't think I can do it, but I'm like, I appreciate you doing that. Like, you know, I think comes
there's plenty of things that you ask me to do that we both know you're completely capable of doing on your own.
Right.
Sorry, I don't mean.
But but it's
there's just things he does. Like that's just like that's a Chris thing. He's going to do that for me. But I think it's important to let a man do those things. So I think it builds him up as a man. So I think if you're so like, what if I was so gung ho on like I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything myself, 100% me. Well, then I'm not letting him thrive as a husband by doing those things for me. So I think it's important to let men be gentlemen. Chris always opens my car door for me. Chris always takes me out to dinner. Like you still do those things. Whereas I feel like there is a place now where some women are offended by that because they feel that the man is saying you're incapable.
Yeah.
Whereas
that's happened to me
view it as
when
just
I held a door for someone. Yeah. She's like, I don't need you to hold the door for me. I'm like, I would hold this for anybody. I would hold it for a man. Like I just hold doors for people.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where that trait come about, but
it's frustrating.
You know, elderly, if I see an elderly person coming out of a store, walking in a store, like
Chris always stand up for anybody.
It's just a natural, like, you know, hey, like, let me hold the door for you.
And I like that. Now, if I had to go back into the dating world and was with a guy who, there was an old lady struggling to put groceries away and he didn't help her, like I would be very put off. Like,
yeah.
But that's me. Again, somebody might not like that and that's perfectly fine. But to me, I would be like, wow.
I think part of that's growing up in the South too.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure, absolutely. It depends on kind of your experience of life and how you grew up and where you grew up.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because that actually is offensive to some people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even
yes, ma'am,
no, ma'am.
Oh, dude, I know. And you're not thinking twice about it. It's just who you are.
Right.
Well, it's a sign of respect here. Yeah. Like, thank you, sir. Like, yes, sir, or no, sir.
Well, I've said ma'am to a lady, and she interpreted it as like
an age thing.
Like, I'm not that old. I'm not a ma'am. I'm like, no. I mean, I'd say that to any.
I say it to people that's younger than me.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sign of respect. That's I think
people just get so, like, again, like going back to what you said about the little things, like, man, just chill. Like, don't let stuff
I think
get
where
to
you look for insult, you'll create insult and you're going to find it and you'll believe it. You know, let's say like me and Chris go out to dinner. This is kind of a random one, but PBR is telling me to say it. Like, what if we go out to dinner? Okay, we always go out and, well, no, this is better as a waitress. Let's say I go to the same waitress 4 weeks in a row. I order a salad and a Diet Coke. On the fourth week, she says, a Diet Coke. Like, yes, ma'am. Oh, cool. She knows that.
Yeah.
Or, what the hell? She calling me fat. You know what I mean? Like, where it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But you turn it into what you want to believe.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It could be anything.
What if I wanted a real Coke today?
Yeah. She's assuming. She's calling me names. Like, she's judging me. Yeah, I think you just can morph anything into something, and then it's not always true.
Yep.
But you believe it because you took it as true.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about perspective. And it's
right.
Like, you know, we just dealt with an issue here at the gym where we hung up a thin blue line flag, and that's just showing support for police officers. It was interpreted by some folks as being like racist against black folks, and it's not that at all. And it's how you look at it. It's like, thank you, police officers, for all you do, you know. But again, you look at it from a different perspective, and now all of a sudden it's seen as something totally different and unintended and not what it was supposed to be.
Well, it's interesting because in not just that, but like with anything, it's all truth. Your eyes see the truth of what it is. And now everybody's perspective is different because of their experiences, because of different things shape those things. So nobody's right and also nobody's wrong. But for some reason, nobody can get along. Everybody's fighting about it.
And how much is influenced by the people you're around? Are you just thinking and saying the things you're thinking or saying because of the people you're around?
Yeah. Are you in an echo chamber?
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. You're just speaking along with the rest of the crowd, you know?
I'd like to believe, and I do believe most people are good people.
I think so. I think people are.
I think people are scared.
Intrinsically good.
Yeah, I think that whenever you really get to the root of who people are, I think people have all good intentions. Really, most people. I just think we really lack communication and getting those things across to each other because we are closed-minded. And like you said, a lot of times you are in an echo chamber where we're like, no, you're wrong. And they're like, well, if you'd hear me out with an open heart and open eyes, like you would understand like where I'm coming from because we're all coming from a place of love. But
and to add to that, what's wrong with having disagreements and still walking away as friends?
That can't exist anymore.
That's
like
that's my whole thing. I don't get
it.
Like I actually enjoy that. Like I enjoy hearing someone else's point of view that maybe they see things differently than I do. I find that interesting. Like, okay, why do you think the way you think?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. I want to know your reasons.
It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
Maybe I'll change my mind.
You know, I'm not going to hate you for it.
But so many people aren't even willing to have the conversation now.
And I think that's a big part of our problem is like we're not willing to have those conversations and say, well, you know what? It's okay that you feel the way you feel. I disagree with that, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know?
I think a lot of the things that have made you guys' marriage successful are the same things that will make society way better.
Absolutely.
We just talk to each other and listen to each other and hear one another out. You know, for whatever reason, we've gotten to this place where it's like cool to be offended. It's like you want people strive to be offended by things. They look for things to be offended by, and I just want to tell them like, man, you're just stressing yourself out.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if you look for something, you'll always find something.
You'll always find it.
That's
You'll
true.
always find, and it's like what Jenna said. Like everybody is pretty much good. Like I think the folks who were complaining about the thin blue line flag were coming from a good place. They honestly see that because of the information they've digested and what they've been exposed to. They do see that as a negative thing. But where the breakdown occurs is when they don't listen, when the individual who put it up says, no, it's for this reason and this is why we're doing it. That's where we break down, is that communication. And same thing with you guys and any successful relationship. It's like, you got to talk, man. Like if we just continue as a society in these different groups and identities that just only talk to one another and not between the groups, it's just going to be terrible. Like, I mean, you already see growth. You already see it politically, you know, and then you start seeing it in other ways. It's terrible, man. It's like, we're just people. Like, let's just talk.
Good people. So many good people out there. Yeah. But I think people are scared to have conversations. And I'm sure you're like familiar too. Like you'll talk to somebody and you'll kind of like nip around a little bit, like say something, see the reaction. Yeah. You got to feel people out, and then you talk to them. You're like, oh, well, faith restored. I'm
not too great at that. I just put it out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't work in my favor.
Same.
But, no, but I think that it's so true and a great comparison, because I was just thinking about it as I was saying it. Like the things that make a marriage work are the exact same things that we're not doing as a society.
Yeah. And
it's what's created all this conflict and turmoil and shit. And now with social media, everybody has a megaphone. You know, people who shouldn't get to have an opinion that everybody hears. And it's like, man, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Like, how do you all of a sudden just say, no, we're going to talk and we're going to get along? Do you think that we would naturally do that if the media didn't continue to push us in one direction?
I think some people are just so...
Like, do we have hope?
I have hope.
Fails?
I do, yeah.
I do too. I do too. I really do. I think a lot of the problems are people are so rooted to, I'm not going to think any other way. Like, this is it. It can't be anything else.
Well, then that means you have to find a common ground. Well, so what is the common ground?
But I think part of that is they haven't accepted a conversation with people who do think differently and have an open mind to say, I can kind of go with some of that, maybe not all of that, and like Jenna said, kind of find that common ground.
Yeah, because ultimately we're all Americans,
yeah.
Right? Like,
I think the common ground, no matter what, would be like we want better, like we want to be happy, we want to be comfortable, we want.
I think at the root of it all, like we all want the same principles, the same core value stuff, but it's all this extra stuff that gets thrown in the mix that just causes all the
division. I think if you always come from a place of love, which we always do, how could you lose? Lead with love, always, everything you do.
That's so true, and unfortunately not happening a lot. And all it takes is a few bad actors that are in places of influence, just to really drive a wedge between people.
Yeah.
But anyway, we won't go down that road too much more because that can take you to all kinds of places.
Yeah.
I mean, I always like to wrap with the same question. I'll ask both of you because you might have different answers, but because this is the Mind of Man podcast, I usually ask guests, if you could give young men today one bit of advice, what would you tell them? If you could, so Chris, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give to yourself? And then Jenna, I guess, what advice would you also give to young Chris or any young man?
Big thing, I mean, I would say don't hesitate to be a leader. Don't let people make you feel that being a leader is, egotistical or, you're trying to be Mr. Alpha. There always has to be a leader. And if you're the leader, but you're also willing to do the work, people will follow you and you're going to grow with those people. Your team's going to grow. I think we need more leaders now. I think you have too many young men who are afraid to step up and be a leader, whether it's in the workforce, in the household. We need more of that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to step up, right? And if you're someone who's just looking for someone to follow, maybe stop and think for a second. Like, do you truly feel compelled to be a follower? Or and be honest with yourself. Maybe you want to step up and be a fucking leader.
And part of being that leader is being willing to make those hard decisions, have the hard conversations that, you really don't want to have. But if you go into that with good intentions and speak your heart, like, you're going to feel better on the other side of that.
Yeah,
and people will actually respect you because they know, you didn't want to have that conversation, but you had that conversation.
They know, the gravity of what you just did,
right?
Because they're afraid to do it,
right.
And I've never done that where I spoke my mind or said what needed to be said, had the difficult conversation, and came out the other end not feeling better. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's great advice.
Yeah, it's tough because and I'll kind of give an example. In my position at work, we had an employee. This was 2 years ago now. First person I ever had to fire, and that was actually really, really tough on me. Like I talked to Jenna about it. I was like, look, like, I know this is the right thing for the team, but I'm affecting this guy's livelihood.
Right.
He has a family. Like, that's big. And I'm the leader for our shift, so like I have to be willing to do that, because if I don't do it, I'm bringing the entire team down.
The first person I thought of, Chris told me, and I'm like, you need to call Sal.
And I did. I
Sal, if there's like, and you know how they are, like, I'm you got to get advice from Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, again, with that being the first time I was put in that position, Sal was the first guy I called. And I was like, look, man, like, I know I have to do this, but this is kind of tough. And Sal kind of broke it down and was like, you got to do what you got to do,
Yeah, you knew you had to do it.
And it was tough. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie and say, like, that it didn't bother me for a while after that. But, like, I knew after it was over, like, I knew I did the right thing for the team.
Right.
And the team realized, like, that sucks you had to do that. But, like, we all know it was the right thing, too.
Yeah. Have the tough conversations.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to step up. Absolutely.
Set the example, that we need more of that.
I agree. What advice would you have, Mrs. Fail?
My advice would be also same thing, lead from the front. Never be afraid to do that, and always be a little gentleman.
Be a gentleman,
fellas. Be a little gentleman.
Yeah, goes a long way.
Open the car door for your woman.
Absolutely.
just little things. I don't think that those things are done and over with. But I do think
fold the laundry from
chivalry
time to time.
isn't dead.
Chivalry is not dead. Yeah, don't believe it.
And females out there, if a man does something like that for you, even if you're not in a relationship, holds the door or whatever, don't look at it as an insult. Like, please, it's
an act of love.
Yeah. I mean, and if nothing else, like, it's exactly like just like when I held that door for that lady and she got mad at me, it was the weirdest thing. It's like, dude,
it's like, really?
I was talking to a girlfriend
to be an asshole?
A week ago, and she said that she had 2 girlfriends that are from a big city, and they said that if a man opened their car door or paid for dinner on the first date, they wouldn't go back on a second date.
Now, what did you say back to that? Girl, you crazy.
No, I said, what? No, they didn't. She was telling me her friends told her that. And I'm
gotcha.
like, because I was talking to her about like the whole thing. And I was just really like shocked to hear that. Like, it's just interesting because we and Chris are not familiar with dating. So we don't understand the things that are happening. And
as a guy, that would really fuck with me because if I reached back out to that girl and she didn't want to talk, I'd be like,
what did I do?
Yeah. Like what? Yeah, that would fuck with me.
Yeah, and then like you're going to question whether you should do those chivalrous or polite things moving forward for other people.
Right.
Yeah. There's this weird thing now that the last guest I had on the podcast, she was talking about this whole ghosting thing and how that's become normal. Like apparently it's normal to just like even if you're dating someone, just stop all conversation with them, and that's terrible, man.
Yeah.
See, people always ask dating advice, and I can't give any because I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't know what to do. If I got hung up in dating and somebody ghosted me, I'd be like, I'd call the police. I think they're missing.
Yeah.
They stopped talking to me.
Call the police. That's so true.
Go find them.
Yeah. And I think, man, it's so weird, like with apps and everything these days.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends who are all dating and stuff, and it's like, man, it's cheapened the value of like human interaction.
Like you said, I've got friends that have done it, and I'm like, man, that's so weird.
It sounds terrible.
I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I feel like I should have been born 100 years ago.
100?
1920? Yeah, I think 20s would have been good.
Roaring 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you had the Depression that came.
Yeah.
So.
I would have still been kind of young. Then I could have. I think the 50s, 60s, 70s were cool. 80s were cool. I think the 50s were especially cool.
Yeah.
Just a cool era.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely have lived in the 50s for sure.
I think the 80s. I would have picked the 80s.
You wouldn't have wanted the 80s.
Huh? Like the hair metal? Oh, yeah.
No.
Did you see Chris with a big old hairspray?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
true. I guess
I would be the guy with a mullet.
He dated when he had hair and all that.
He had a lot of hair.
Yeah. It was thick.
It was so thick. I can't believe he's bald now. It's weird.
It was weird. Yeah, I had all the hair up there and none here.
I like the beard better.
It just migrates.
Now it's a beard and none up top.
Yeah.
He always tells me he's going to shave his beard. And I genuinely, I think I would get mad. And I don't get mad. I think I would be really upset.
Well, because before I got promoted, I used to have to be clean shaven for work all the time, so I wear respirators. So I would let it grow occasionally, and I'd just do some goofy shave just to.
He'd come in with like a mustache, and I'd get so upset. I'm like, Chris.
Well, because I knew like I had to turn around and shave everything,
right,
so it was kind of a joke.
Have a little fun with it.
So I kind of mess with her now. Like, what do you think about like a handlebar mustache?
I get so upset. I'm like genuinely like my heart sinks.
But the cool thing with facial hair is it comes back.
Yeah.
I mean,
mine doesn't grow like
but
super
I got to deal with
fast.
it in the meantime.
Like, I don't know if I could grow a beard as long as yours. Like,
This took a year. This took a year.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I feel like mine would take. I don't know if it would even grow that long.
It would.
I rarely trim this. Like length.
It needs to be
like
trimmed
I shape up the sides and all, but
I like it tight.
No, it's got to have like enough to grab. Right?
Yeah, I mean it's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just not aware of the thing.
When I'm driving,
you're learning
just constantly while I'm driving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
Wow.
Well,
that's a thing.
I think that's a good place to end it. Grow a beard if you can, man. And no, thank you guys so much for your time. It was a blast.
Thank you for having us. Glad to be here.
I think there's tons of value in this that people are going to get, and I think we're going to go to Papa Doc's and have some.
Let's go do it.
Have some drinks, some food.
That's right.
All right. On that note, thank you guys very much. Until next time, bye.
See you later.
Woo! Good shit.